I did not enjoy it because there's nothing enjoyable about this book. And there were flashes of like cringy Wattpad smut. She in particular was so insufferable. Words aren't wording anymore. I need to like wrap it up. Hello, my book besties. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Delaney if you are new here, and we are back with a September monthly reading wrap up. September was a relatively well-balanced month, I think. We had quite a variety of genres. I dipped my toe into some dark romance, which is new for me. I explored some fantasy, which is difficult for me. I feel like we have a lot to talk about. So in September, I read 13 and a half books, I believe, if I did the math correctly. I DNF'd one book this month and we're going to talk about it. So that's like the half that I'm talking about, but I did want to include it because I want to share my thoughts, but I didn't get all the way through. So I didn't feel like I could fully give myself credit for reading it. But since we have so many books to talk about and I have lots of opinions to share, let's just dive right in. We're going to jump into the first book that I read this month, which is actually ACOMAF. And I vlogged this for my Patreon. And if you're in the Patreon, you saw the YouTube video that went up vlogging this. I wanted to love this so bad. I loved the romance. The romance had me captivated. I loved Farah. I loved Reese. I loved their banter. I loved some of the friendship dynamics. There's pieces of this book that I really loved. Like, I was invested. And then there's like 70% of the book that I could not care any less about. And it's so unfortunate saying that. I think it's truly just me not being fully a fantasy reader yet. There's some forms of fantasy that I can get really into. This particular world, like, I just didn't care about the things that they were doing, which made it really hard to get through a book this thick. Like, you need to be invested, obviously, in any book you're reading, but especially one this long. And I just didn't like have it in me to care. I didn't really care about what they were doing. I only cared about the romance and the friendship. And at that point, like, why am I not just reading a romance book? You know what I mean? So unfortunately, as of now, I've made the decision to DNF the ACOTAR series. I gave this book a 3.5 star, I believe, but I think I'm going to stop the series for now. When I posted this vlog, a lot of the people in my Patreon said, like, if you didn't like this book and it was like you were bored with the fantasy elements, you're definitely not gonna like the next book because the romance is even less in the next book, I believe. So that's a huge bummer because I did really want to get through the ACOTAR series. Not to say it's forever, but definitely like a pause, a soft DNF for now. Maybe somewhere down the line I will pick up the series, but as of now, I'm super sad to say I just don't think it's for me. Next, I read Birthday Girl, and this is, I don't know if I would call it a dark romance. This is an interesting romance. So this will be in an upcoming vlog. I just need to edit it and get it up for you guys. So you will see all the in-depth thoughts. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the vlog because I will go way more in depth than I will here. But this is basically a boyfriend's dad romance, which was weird to me. I don't know. I was like really into this for the first probably third of the book. Like, I was flying through it and then I felt like I just hit a standstill and this book was never ending. It's only like 400 pages, but it felt like it went on forever. Like, it was not ending. I was reading and reading and reading and I felt like I was making no progress in the book. So I was like, clearly I'm not super enjoying my time because it's feeling like it's dragging on and on and on and I'm just ready to be done with it. But I did really like it in the start. I liked the romance and I liked the tension and I just was having a good time reading it. And then we kind of hit the standstill and it was like, I was bored and then there were flashes of like cringy Wattpad smut, which just wasn't really vibing for me. I don't know. I like have mixed opinions because I was so interested at the beginning and then it just kind of like hit a harsh stop for me. So I ended up giving this 3 stars. I would recommend it in certain circumstances to certain people, but as a whole, it's not a book that I'll be like thinking about forever or be recommending all the time or talking about all the time. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I know all the hype and like what the discussion around this book is about now, and not one I would actively tell people to like steer away from. I will be recommending it, like I said, in certain circumstances, but it's not one that I'd be like, oh, everyone needs to read this book, if that makes sense. Next, I read my Patreon book club's book of the month for September, and that is The Wedding People. I actually enjoyed this book more than I even thought I would. I gave this 4.5 stars. There were so many characters in this book, and not in a way that felt super overwhelming, but in a way that felt like I could connect to, I could see myself in so many of the different characters. I don't know, it was super cool. Essentially, the premise of this book is we have Phoebe, who ends up going to a hotel with plans to take her own life. But while she's there, there happens to be like a big wedding party that is like taking over all the other rooms in the hotel. Like the hotel is entirely this wedding party, and it's a week-long wedding event with like a whole bunch of wealthy people. So Phoebe goes there, like I said, with the intention to take her life, and she ends up meeting the bride really early on in this book. And the bride and her kind of form an interesting relationship. And Phoebe's really just like swept up into this wedding with all these wedding people that she has not known before. Character dynamics and like the messages and the themes about humanness and making mistakes and what it means to be human. It just felt like an authentic and really raw and vulnerable representation of human life. I tabbed, I annotated, like I really enjoyed this writing style. I thought this was brilliant. For me personally, it felt like what I always have wanted from an Ellen Hilderbrand book, but never was fully getting from Ellen Hilderbrand. This felt like an Ellen Hilderbrand style book done really well, in my opinion, that I could really resonate with. I enjoyed this book a lot. I would highly recommend. This is kind of like a general fiction, women's fiction, just like fiction. I don't know. It was really, really good, in my opinion. I liked it a lot. Then my favorite book of the month, I read Wild Eyes. Oh my gosh, you guys, Weston Belmont has my entire heart. Oh, if you don't know, this is the second book in the Rose Hill series by Elsie Silver. First book is Wild Love, which I thoroughly enjoyed. We meet Weston in that book, and I loved Weston in that book. But after reading this one, my whole heart, like he is one of my new favorite book boyfriends of all time. So this is single dad trope, small town, and one of us is famous. So we have a famous country star comes into a small town to work at like Weston's best friend's recording studio. While she's there, she ends up staying in like Weston's outbuilding, kind of by his house, and they form a bond. I saw so much of myself in Skylar, the female main character. Obviously, I'm not a famous country singer, so like not in that way, but her personality, her history, her lifestyle, like I just resonated and related so deeply to her. And Weston was so healing, like the man he is, the father he is, the partner he is, the friend he is, the brother he is. He's just a good guy, and I loved him. I loved this book. Another one that I highlighted and annotated the heck out of. Truly phenomenal. Easy 5-star read for me. I wish I could give it more than 5 stars. I loved this so much. It's up there with my other Elsie Silver favorite rec lists. Like it's up there. She did a phenomenal job. Then I read a super short nonfiction book, and that is the Dopamine Detox. This book was like 70 pages and essentially was repeating how you should stay off your phone if you want to be more productive, which I think we all know. I think we all get it. I didn't really get anything from this book, but it was really short. Like I literally downloaded it on Kindle Unlimited and read it in one sitting in bed one night. So it wasn't groundbreaking. It wasn't earth-shattering. I don't rate nonfiction, so I have no rating for this one, but I read it, and that's that. Then I read Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, and this is a memoir specifically about womanhood and female friendship and growing up as a woman and just kind of life. I don't know. I think it's a really honest depiction of a lot of elements of womanhood. I will say this book was like 50-50 for me. It's either like things were hitting and I was annotating and like taking pictures and I was like, oof, like that line, that life lesson, like that hits, or I wanted to fall asleep while I was reading it. So like it's tough because part of the time I was so dang bored, and then the other part was like these one-liners they were just hitting so hard, and I was like, yes, someone finally understands me, somebody gets me. So really difficult. Luckily for me, I don't rate memoirs anyways, so I didn't have to give this really like a star rating, but I would say I recommend it, but also like be prepared to be bored sometimes. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. That's a really awful review. I don't know what else to say though. That's just my experience. Then I read Nora Goes Off Script, and I read this after reading Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan and falling in love with her writing. This one paled a little bit in comparison for me. Full disclosure, I don't really like the Hollywood one of us is famous trope. Like when someone is like a movie star or a TV star, I don't really connect to that. I just don't super enjoy reading that in books. And that is what this book had. I also feel like it was just unrealistic. Like the relationship felt unrealistic. The way it developed felt rushed and unrealistic. It almost felt insta-lovey at sometimes. I just I liked the male main character. I liked the female main character. I didn't see them together. I wasn't like rooting for them together. It felt rushed and it felt unrealistic and just kind of, I wasn't in it, you know? That said, I do still love Annabelle Monaghan's writing. Like, I had a fine time reading it. I was fine picking it up. When I picked it up, I could read it and I wasn't like actively hating my life. I wasn't bored by any means, but not a book that I'm like, oh my gosh, that was phenomenal, you know? This was a 3-star read for me. Again, this is another book that I would recommend in certain circumstances to certain people, but not one that I feel like I'm going to be shouting from the rooftops, touting all the time, talking about all the time. However, if you're looking for a quick romance read, it is very short and easy to read. Like, you could fly through this in a day or two, I think. So if you're looking for something short and sweet, great option. If you're looking for like the most life-changing, earth-shattering emotional romance, not the best option, but there's a time and a place for both, you know what I mean? So definitely a enjoyable read, but not a favorite. My leg is asleep, it's tingling. Ow. Next, we have my DNF of the month, and I'm so sad about it. You Again. Look at this cover. I wanted to love this book so much. This was going to like kickstart my cozy fall romance era because I was so excited because of this cover. I hated the female main character so much in this book. I didn't like the male main character either, but she in particular was so insufferable that I was like, girl, I don't even want you to thrive. Like, I don't even want to read about you. That's so mean. I shouldn't say that. Just felt like her entire character was like she was trying so hard to be quirky and not like the other girls that it was like, I don't resonate with you. Like, you're trying so hard to be relatable that you're not relatable and you're just annoying me. The main character just had big grumpy energy. I'm not a huge grumpy man fan in books. I think that it's more of a turn off than a turn on for me. It wasn't hitting for me. I had to DNF it. It was going to put me in a slump. So this is my half book. I got to like the 50% mark. So I did really read like half of it. I couldn't read it. I'm so sad. The cover is stunning. The cover is stunning. If you want a book with a pretty cover, I would recommend it to you. Other than that, not a book I'll be recommending. Then I read Body Respect, and if you don't know, you probably don't know. I don't really talk about it much on here. I am an eating disorder recovery coach, so this is a book that I read actually for work with a client. So this is all about like respecting your body, caring for your body, truly just body respect, developing respect for your body, and like what conventional diets and like weight loss science and those types of things, medical professionals, like what is typically left out of the conversation. It was a really interesting book. If you're into any of that, I would highly recommend reading this. I think a lot of people should read this. It's just like debunking a lot of diet culture. So I thought it was super fascinating. Again, I don't rate memoirs or nonfiction, so no rating for this one, but it was a really good read. I would recommend it. Then I read Next of Kin, and this is the first book in a series where I own the second book, and I was going to just jump into the second book, and then you guys were like, whoa, wait, like you have to read Next of Kin first. So I did. This is like double single parent trope kind of. They both are fostering a kiddo and they're doing it together. They live together. So forced proximity, double single parent. It's fun. It's a beautiful romance. Fun is not the right word. It's emotional, but also kind of fun. I don't know. I feel like Hannah Bonham Young does a great job balancing banter and emotion. This book was sweet. I would just like categorize this as really, really sweet. If you want to feel feels, like words aren't wording anymore. I need to like wrap it up. I would recommend this book. Let's just say that. I think I gave it 3.5 stars. I thought it was good. I love Hannah Bonham Young's writing. She's one of my new like auto-buy favorite authors. So yes, I would recommend reading this. Then I read A Man Called Ove. I don't know how to say it. I think it's Uva. I did not like this book. This is essentially, think of like a coming of age story, but old man version. It's like a declining of age. Like a, I don't know how to word this. It's like the late in life version of a coming of age story. He's really just like a curmudgeon grunch. Hello? Curmudgeon-y, grumpy old man. Is that the right word? Curmudgeon. I understand why he was the way he was and said the things he said. I just found him like incredibly unlikable. And then that coupled with like the writing style is like a point of view that I don't really enjoy. It's like third person limited. Is that what it is? I didn't really like the like point of view. And then also we were time hopping all around, like time jumps in time all the time. And it felt like there was no real plot. Like if you were to ask me what this book is about, I would say an old man version of coming of age story. Like that's truly the best summary I can give it because I feel like it had no clear plot. This was a 2-star read for me. Like I said, I just didn't really resonate with any of the characters. I didn't resonate with the plot. I couldn't even find the plot. Where is the plot? Couldn't see it. I didn't enjoy this book, which I was bummed because I feel like a lot of people give this book and Frederick Bachman in particular like so much hype, and I think I missed it. Like I think I missed the point. I don't know what I missed. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy it. I'm sorry. Then I read Funny Feelings by Tara DeWitt, and this is when I decided to give fall romances a second shot. However, there is nothing fall about this book except for the cover. Tell me you wouldn't look at this and be like, oh, that's a fall romance. Like I should read that in September or October. Nothing fall in the book, like 0% fall, but I had a great time. It was a good book. So our female main character is a stand-up comedian, and we have an older man. He's actually her manager, and that's the love interest male main character. Male main character is also a single father to a deaf daughter. So we have single dad, workplace slash boss romance. We have a little bit of grumpy sunshine. We have some forced proximity. We have fake dating. We also have fake dating. Essentially, she's given the opportunity to advance her career if she is able to fake date her manager. So she has strong feelings for him. We don't really know how he feels at the beginning, but they are forced to fake date. His daughter is a sweetheart. She's so adorable. I really, really loved her and the way that the female main character connected with the daughter. I thought that was super sweet. This was a fun time. I gave this 3.75 stars. I would recommend this. I think it was a good read. It's kind of giving like Abby Jimenez energy with some of the banter in this. I don't know. That feels like a huge statement because Abby is one of my favorite authors of all time. But at points, the banter was like Abby-esque. Also, our male main character goes to therapy. And like he was very open about going to therapy. And we love a man that goes to therapy. Our female main character has anxiety and she's open about her struggle with anxiety. We love the anxiety rep. We love the disability rep. We love therapy representation. All of it. It was good. It was really, really good. 3.75 stars. I would recommend this. But don't expect a fall book like I did because it's really not seasonal. It's not a seasonal book. Then I have What We Keep by Jennifer Milliken. This is a firefighter romance and one of my most anticipated reads for the second half of the year. It was not what I expected. I expected a spicy, flirty, hot firefighter romance. This ripped my heart out of my chest, threw it on the floor, jumped on it, smashed it into 1,000 pieces, and then slowly pieced it back together. It was an emotional roller coaster. We essentially have a firefighter, male main character, Gabriel, and he saves Avery, our female main character, from a fire while she's in college. So he's quite literally the fireman that saves her life in a house fire. She goes to the station to thank him. He ends up asking her on a date. It goes from there. They end up married, but their marriage faces some turmoil. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to give any spoilers. I just want to give you like the very beginning of this book, the concept of this book. It was so deep and emotional. I would highly recommend. You need to read this book. I gave this 4 stars. I think my review on Goodreads is just, you should read this book, which is how I feel about this. You should read this book. It was great. I really feel like both the main characters were raw and vulnerable and honest. Our female main character is also an author, so we have like that fun bookish trope, which I think is always a fun addition to a book. I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I thought it was great. Last but not least, I have Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman, and this book was interesting. I did not enjoy it because there's nothing enjoyable about this book. The premise is that our 2 main characters get abducted and basically chained in a basement and abused together, and it's a dark romance. It's a dark romance. However, the male main character is the female main character's sister's fiance, so it's like a brother-in-law romance kind of, but also like they experienced such severe trauma together that I was like, I felt for them. The whole thing is just weird. I don't know how I feel. Oh. That happened. Nice. All right, we're back. I gave this a 3 on Goodreads. I feel like it could be a 3, a 3.5, or a 4, depending on my mood. This is another book that I would recommend, but only in very specific circumstances. Not a book that I'm going to be like, everybody should read this. It's definitely like heavy, check trigger warnings. It's twisted. It's messed up. It's one that I will continue to think about for sure, but it's an experience. It's an experience. I am glad I read it though. I enjoyed my time reading it. I feel like it's a book that I wanted to pick up. I was invested in. Again, it feels wrong to say I enjoyed it because I didn't enjoy 1 second of it. It was dark and made me feel really icky, but it was a book that I was captivated by. Let's say that. Enough said. I don't even know what else to say. All right, y'all. Those are the 13 and a half books that I read in the month of September. What is the best book that you read in the month of September? Comment down below. And while you're down there, make sure you check out the description box and follow me on all the things. Everything's always linked down below, as well as my Patreon book club if you want to join us for the month of October. We are reading The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, and I'm super excited to talk about it with you guys. We're also buddy reading The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. It's not like our official book club book, but we're going to be reading it over there, and it's not too late to join if you want to join us. But that's all I have for this month's monthly wrap up. Thanks for hanging out with me for another month of reading. Make sure you're subscribed here so you don't miss any future videos. I have some fun vlogs and fall themed videos coming up that you won't want to miss. So make sure you're hanging out here, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye, book besties.